This video explains new dysfunctional anxiety that comes up in situations that never bothered or made you anxious before, like suddenly experiencing anxiety and overwhelm going to a store when that was never an issue in the past. I'll also explain what to do about it so it gets better again, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome here. This is Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and I have good news for you. Your new experience of anxiety is not a sign that you're completely falling apart. It has a reason, and there is lots you can do about it. Where new dysfunctional anxiety comes from. The reason you're suddenly anxious in situations that were never a problem before is because you've crossed a tipping point. Your anxiety threshold. We all have this, a threshold that determines whether or not our body and mind will respond with anxiety in a given situation. This graph explains it. The horizontal axis represents the passage of time, the vertical axis, your baseline stress level. These three spikes represent different situations from daily life that go along with different levels of challenge or short-term stress. This is the anxiety threshold. Whenever you experience something that triggers so much stress in you that your stress level goes above the anxiety threshold, you will experience anxiety. Your body and mind will respond with anxiety. The things that happen below that threshold are in the area of all is well. Your personal anxiety threshold is different from other people's anxiety threshold, and where it lies depends on the experiences you've made throughout life, especially your childhood and your genes. So, for example, you may experience conflict with your family, see a stack of bills that needs to get paid, or go grocery shopping, and you'll be in the area of all is well. But then your boss assigns you to a really complicated, tiresome new project, and you may experience a bit of anxiety with that. If the gap between your anxiety threshold and your baseline stress level is pretty small, it takes less short-term stress for your body to switch into anxiety mode compared to if that gap is bigger. Then you'll be calmer throughout more situations of your daily life. I'll call this gap the gap of resilience. The thing about the gap of resilience is it's not fixed. It changes and shifts throughout life. On the one hand, your anxiety threshold can move up or down depending on your experiences, your mindset, choices, and behavior. On the other hand, the amount of stress you experience in everyday situations depends on your baseline stress levels. If you're exposed to long-term chronic stresses in your life, your general levels of tension, arousal, and stress will increase. And then the same relatively small situations can suddenly be too much and push you over your personal anxiety threshold. So although we don't really notice it from day to day, the gap of resilience changes. This happens slowly. It takes months and years for it to change drastically. But over time, it could be that at some point, it's significantly smaller than it used to be, and it takes less acute stress for you to experience anxiety than before. Then if you go through an experience that never used to trigger anxiety in you, like going to the grocery store, will suddenly trigger anxiety, which could mean that your palms get sweaty, your heart beats faster, your mouth gets dry, you feel dizzy. And that is very uncomfortable. But the good news is that this is happening because the gap between your anxiety threshold and your baseline stress level has become too small. And this gap of resilience is something you have direct influence on. You can change this. You can turn this around. How to increase the gap of resilience. To increase your gap of resilience, identify and remove chronic stressors from your life and rebuild resilience. Chronic stress means that you're spending more energy every day than you're spending time regenerating it. Over time, you've built up an energy deficit. Maybe you feel exhausted on most days. Maybe your sleep quality has decreased. Maybe you have difficulty concentrating or headaches. Maybe you feel irritated more quickly. Maybe you've lost a lot of your enthusiasm, joy, and drive. To turn this around, start filling your energy bucket again and make sure that you pour more into it than you pour out of it. Here are some ideas of what this could mean changing. Examine your week and assess how much time you spend taking care of your health, physical and mental. Then ask yourself how you can create more time for mental health habits, physical exercise and movement, effective rest and relaxation, joy, play, friends, regular nourishing meals. Create a structure and healthy habits that help you rebuild your energy and then make sure it stays on high levels. The better your health, the higher your energy levels, the greater the gap between your anxiety threshold and everyday stress. Honestly reflect on your limits and boundaries and how you've been crossing them over the past months, maybe even years. Learn to set and keep boundaries with yourself and others. This may sound difficult and strenuous, I know, but you really will thank yourself when you feel better again. And it is doable. This is a skill set anyone can learn to get good at. And if you'd like to have more food for thought on boundaries, check out my boundaries playlist. Identify your inner mental patterns that are making it difficult for you to stay healthy. For some reason, you've allowed some part in you to drive you beyond your limits. Why? Why do you think that's necessary? What are you trying to avoid by sacrificing your health and well-being? What are you afraid of? What are you trying to protect by acting in ways that make you sick? Can this go on? Where would it lead? What would need to change in your mind, in your inner world, with your core beliefs, your inner narratives, your assumptions, expectations, and interpretations so that you can prioritize your health the way it needs to be prioritized? When you remove chronic, persistent strain and stress from your life, your gap of resilience, the gap between your anxiety threshold and baseline stress levels, increases. And that means you won't experience anxiety anymore in situations that were never a problem before. Anxiety doesn't have to dominate you. You can turn things around. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more of my videos in your feed. And if you'd like access to more of my content, you can subscribe to my email newsletter. The link for that is in the description box below this video and on my webpage. Till next time, take care and remember to increase your gap of resilience by making more room for healthy habits.